It's Footy Prime, brought to you by Charles Schwab Investments.
They don't need a free plug.
No, listen, Chucky Schwab's listening. Yeah, Chucky is. Now, Dan Wong is wearing a T-shirt. That's all. That happens to have emblazoned with the name of some investment firm. And we're open to investment firms, hedge funds, banks as sponsorships. So that's what you could get from us.
They should sponsor the broadcast, though. Because I get a Charles Schwab every year at my...
Oh, that's awful. That's truly awful.
You better hurry up. You better hurry up and stir up.
Don't encourage her, Mother. Don't encourage her.
You got a bad cough. Bad cough. Cough stir up.
It is Footy Prime.
We're going in a hole here, aren't we?
Yeah. We've been in this hole, Jimmy.
No tunnel vision, Sharms. Come on.
I'm just going to sit back right now and just wait until you all finish.
That's what Tony does usually.
She doesn't wait very long.
And done.
Before you know it, it'll be over. Don't worry.
Oh my God.
Before you start.
Okay, let me try again. Seconds. It's Footy Prime. It's the regular podcast this Tuesday. We have the Club World Cup mini pod coming up for you very shortly as well. But this is the day that we kick off the Gold Cup, Canadian fans. Honduras awaits this evening a late one in Vancouver, which is... and that's all the whiners out there whining about the Canadian medical staff right there, crying. The medical staff. Can we talk about this, please? A little bit. It seems that the Canadian medical staff have a target on their back. I don't get it. I don't know why. Fonzie gets hurt, okay, and then Bayern start whinging and crying, and Fonzie says nothing about it, still hasn't. And then Sam Adakubi does his Achilles. It's just awful. And they're still being hammered because it's their fault he did his Achilles. I don't know. Dubs, are they unfairly being targeted here?
Yes. They really are. And I think it's Bayern's fault, really. I mean, they're still suing Canada Soccer, right, for negligence or something to that effect. So they plant the seed, but I see no reason why. And to Jimmy's or in Jimmy's defense, when that discussion was taking place, Jimmy said, listen, Sam Adakubi is a grown man and he did his Achilles, whether they knew it in the moment or not. He was going to go and celebrate with his teammates. And I mean, I don't think you have to put the pressure. You can't put the pressure on the medical staff at that point to prevent him from doing it. And I mean, whether or not they knew, it's really, really unfair and unjust. And I think, dare I say, unprofessional to criticize the Canadian medical staff for that, to put the onus on them to prevent a player from coming out and celebrating with his teammates.
Yeah, there's no way that anybody knows what the assessment was. We don't know. We're just guessing. But the medical staff is certainly strong. And Sam came out with crutches. He left the stadium with crutches. He was probably advised to stay on the crutches, but he was out there celebrating and was not using his crutches for a time being. Now, is that the right thing for him to do? Probably not. But it's not like he's walking on it for days, but we don't know what the assessment was. If it's ruptured, it's pretty simple for the medical staff to know that. Partially ruptured, not sure. They would do an MRI. But to speculate on what they did or didn't do is, no idea. We just don't know.
And quite honestly, Jimmy, if it was a fully ruptured Achilles, he wouldn't be out there. I've never done it, but I know people that have. It's not very pleasant. No, so it could have been a tear, and you got, you're feeling something, and you can't continue the match. You don't know the severity. And like you said, he was a grown man. He has agency. He's allowed to get out there if he wants. You blame whoever you want, but I just don't think you can blame the medical staff here. No, and the reason we mention this is because it's kind of making the rounds across social media right now, and it's gathering steam, and that concerns me when you have a health, a fitness, a training crew associated with Canadian soccer being just like hammered at all angles. I think it's utter nonsense.
Yeah.
And I've seen it before in other professions, other sports, where they want to wheel them out in a wheelchair, and they just refuse. They will not be seen in a wheelchair. So the player does have a certain amount of power on what he wants to do or not do. They'll jump in a golf cart, but they won't jump on a wheelchair necessarily. So,
yeah, I said this as well, that regardless of the situation of my injury, and you know your body, if I was Sam, I would have done the exact same thing. Even if the medical staff said, "Oh, don't go out there," I'd be like, "No, I'm going out there with my teammates." The player makes a decision. If he wants to go out there, he's going out there to celebrate. It's not the medical staff. They can advise and say, "Hey, don't do this." But at the end of the day, if the player wants to go out with his teammates and lift a trophy and celebrate, he's going to go do it.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with that completely. And I just don't see the need to pile on, where you have obviously a world-class medical staff in Canada for a men's team, for a women's team, I think for our national teams. Like, these are people who are at the top of their field that are working for our national teams. And then somehow, because it's Bayern Munich, it's this behemoth of a club, it gives people license to criticize. And it's unfair and it's unwarranted. If you don't like something, sure, say it. But to put, they already have a target on their back. And I think Davies hasn't come out and stood up for them. I think that makes it worse. I don't think we need to be piling on here when we don't have, as Craig said, we're speculating, right? It's presumptive. We have no idea what that dialogue is like, what the discourse is, or what it was between Sam and Greg Bay, or Sam and the medical staff. We have no idea. So I think we should stop passing judgment on the medical staff.
Yeah, when you're speculating and then throwing people under the bus, that's not cool. It just isn't. So if you're doing it on social media right now, stop. These things do get the steam, and there's no need for it. How many of these, do you know the medical staff right now, Craig? Do you know how far back they go with Canadian soccer?
Well, Greg Bay goes back to the 90s.
Yeah, we've all worked with him. He's great. He's the best.
He was with the women's team for a couple of years before the Olympics.
Yeah.
They have it. He's the best.
And they have 9. They have 9 medical staff.
9?
9. Yeah.
And that's therapists, massage therapists. Does that include doctors?
Yeah. Strength and conditioning.
Mm-hmm. That isn't the problem for Canadian soccer, right? Is it fair to say that when we look at Canadian soccer, men's and women's on the pitch, the good and the bad, the medical staff probably isn't the problem.
And you see it all the time. It doesn't matter, what nationality these players are coming from or who they're playing for. You see that happen. Clubs never like to see their players get injured on international duty.
So what's the play? That's like, I'm sitting there thinking, what's the play? Is it club? Club versus international? Is it player responsibility, agency? Like, I'm trying to figure out why blame the medical staff. And I get it with Bayern. I don't get it with Sam Adakubi right now.
Well, the problem was just seeing him out there, if he had a rupture that, you shouldn't be walking around on it. And that would be true. But like Jimmy says, like, he's going to celebrate whether they like it or not.
Yeah, but that's a Sam decision.
That's
right?
a Sam decision. Correct.
That's my point. Like, what's the point of blaming Canada's medical staff, the national team's medical staff, if a player goes out to a bar, which I've done, gets hammered and doesn't play well, hurts himself, gets in a fight? I didn't do that, but other people did.
You're a lover, not a fighter.
I'm a lover, not a fighter. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate that. But I'm trying to figure out, is it to take away a level of accountability on the player? Is that hey, he's just celebrating, he should have known? Is that what I'm trying to figure out what the benefit to blame Canada's medical staff on this particular specific Sam Adakubi injury?
I think people just love a scandal. It's that simple, a bit of juice.
We're making it up? They're making it up?
You're looking for a hot take, and it's a lazy argument in an issue that's really highly complicated, and it's already being tackled in a collaborative manner. between the club, between country, between the medical staff, that their best interest is in the player's best interest and the player's welfare. And so to distill it down to they didn't do their job to prevent him from celebrating with the team and it's on the medical staff is not only lazy, but it's overly simplistic.
I haven't heard Vancouver threatening to sue Canada Soccer. Have you?
Not yet.
I'm not suggesting they should. Please don't. It's the last thing we need. But I think Dubs mentioned it. I think you're right. This did begin with the whole Bayern Munich thing and how Fonzie could have put it to bed, but didn't. He chose not to for whatever reason. And this is just kind of the collateral damage now, isn't it?
Yeah. What's lost in all this is actually Sam himself, and the injury that's going to keep him out for 8 months to a year. And whether you like it or not, he's going to lose something. Whether he can jump as high or move off his standing leg as quickly as he used to, it's going to take something off.
Even confidence, right?
Oh,
man, it's the worst.
The worst.
Yeah.
And if you're going to talk about the injury, talk about that. Talk about how it impacts Sam Adakubi. Talk about how the Vancouver Whitecaps are now robbed of a guy that they were waiting patiently to have back, that started the season brightly, was missing in addition to other stars like a Ryan Gauld, and they thought they finally had him back. And like just the devastation for him, the player, the individual, the person, but also the club and Canada, because Canada will be without him now. Talk about that.
Couldn't agree with you more. Did I hear a little beep? Do we have a guest?
I think so.
We have a guest. One of our favorites, a long-time Footy Prime supporter, former Canadian national team head coach, Stephen Hart. Hardy, how you doing, mate? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm doing fine, thank you.
Did you just roll out of bed, Stephen?
No, I didn't actually, but I wish I did.
Your hair's a right mess right now.
I've been watching games. Till 2 a.m. I mean, holy Lord.
There's a lot on.
There's so much on right now. It's great. We've just been talking about the Canadian medical staff with the whole, this hoopla around Fonzie and now Sam Adakubi. You work with a lot of these guys very closely. Can you just talk about their qualifications and how strong as a team they are?
Well, I mean, I think it's one of those situations where you have a good medical staff, and really and truly, you always run into conflict with the club's medical staff, right? And that's really the problem, Injuries happen. It's a part of football. The conditions in which the medical staff sort of operates, especially when you're traveling, is testing, and from the time I saw that Adakubi injury, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening, but I mean, my experience is they know their stuff, and as a coach, I just kind of let them get on with it, get the reports. You try somehow to comfort the player, but deep down they're shattered, especially when they've just fought their way back from an injury. That's the tough part.
What do you think, Stephen, about talking about injuries or potential injuries? Jonathan David is out of contract. If you're the manager of Canada, what would you be saying to Jonathan David? What would you do with him?
We would have a long conversation about that, because at the end of the day, we're talking about his livelihood, And yes, selfishly, you would want him to be playing for Canada, but he's got to do what's best for him in the long run. Because let's face it, if he isn't playing, he wouldn't be with Canada, right? So, even though some may say, well, you had quite a few that weren't playing, I had that unattached club that had quite a few players. But I mean, he has to look after his own interests, and I honestly, that would be the discussion I was having with him, and I would say, look, if you make the decision, we want you here, I want you here. But if you make this decision, you've got to know basically it's on you, right? So, it's a tough. I could not believe when I read that or heard about that, I should say, that he was going to take that risk.
He must have a contract in his back pocket, surely.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, will it be announced between now and kickoff? I don't know. I mean, it is a big risk. I'm going to ask you, though, about unattached FC, by the way, Stephen. When you were selecting players without clubs, how did you keep an eye on them and their fitness levels? I mean, there weren't many options. That was a problem for you, right?
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of depth, and some of them were actually at clubs training, and you just had to take the chance, really, because it was such a different time and such a difficult time. And some of them you wanted to put on the stage because you thought, hey, maybe that will help them get a contract. I mean, with all the scouting platforms now and data and all of that, it's a lot different. Before it was somebody in the stands with a pad and paper scouting for talent.
Sorry, I thought someone was jumping in there. Oh, we're so smooth here. We're a slick machine here in Footy Prime. We love our dead air. Back to the injuries very quickly, though. Was there a player when you were coach of Canada that was always hurt? Sam's been hurt so much, really, since the World Cup, that he hasn't had a good run of games at all for club or for his country. But was there that player that you really wanted as part of the group, which was constantly hurt?
Not really. Well, I mean, going into the last part of the qualification last time, we ran into, we ran into a rash of injuries. And I don't know if players were getting older or whatever, but it became Rob Friend got injured, Josh Simpson got injured. Patrice broke his leg. It was on and on, and it was big players for us, players that could impact the squad. So you find that you go through those sort of periods where every time you turn around, they're calling you. I mean, Atiba had some surgery at the time, so there was a lot of players getting injured, and then we went to Panama, and Dwayne got injured. And he was out, and Storley did his hip. So it was like every time the phone rang, I didn't want to pick it up.
Do you find, Stephen, when an injury happens, say like Sam, and especially his fitness or lack thereof, and struggling through the last couple of years where he seems to get an injury at every turn, that affects the group mentally? Like, do you think this is something that Jesse Marsh is addressing internally as they get together for this Gold Cup and they're ready to play the game tonight?
It does impact the group. As a staff and as a coach, you try to not, I don't know, you not make it spread among the group. I mean, obviously they're friendly, they're tight, they're talking separate from you. But you try to make it not impact the group, because now you've got to deal with what you have on hand, and that's to keep them motivated, to keep them focused, to sort of go to the player that's replacing that player and said, hey, this is your chance to step up. That's managing that group becomes a very thin balancing line. You don't want to harp too much on bringing the word injury around the dressing room.
Right.
Times do change, though, right? Like you said, the depth of this current squad is so different to ever before. You lose Sam Adakubi, you lose Alfonso Davis at left back, and you actually have, Richie Larea who can play on the left. Johnston can play on the left. You got Basong, who's a young player who can step in there. How important is it to have those versatile players, and how hard is it to say to a Richie who's better on the right? We know that, But you know what? I need you on the left. We're losing a little bit on the right, perhaps, but we need you on the left. Is that difficult as a coach?
No, not really. I think he will just get on with the job, especially Richie Larea. He looks like that type of player. He'll just get on with it. And you know, you might say, hey, listen, ain't that much different. You're moving from the right to the left, not asking you to play center back, you know, or hold the midfield for me. So no, I think the depth of the squad is impressive. You know, you don't want to lose players of that high, you know, sort of quality. But we do have some depth, and not only, you know, from a footballing perspective, but from an athletic perspective, we have some depth.
Stephen, we're in a I would say a golden generation here with our national team. Is it something that we can maintain in Canada and keep the standard up and bringing through players like we are at the moment? Or is it just a generational thing?
Damn, that's a good question. I'm not sure I can answer that. You know, I always felt that if you look at the national team and the teams that support it, so the youth teams that are coming up, and then the programs across the country from a professional level, you don't need 10 players. You usually need about 3. I used to sort of measure myself with the under-17s. If I could get 3 players to move from the under-17s to the senior squad, we'd be healthy. The senior squad would be healthy, you know. And I think with our depth and age, because we're not really an aging team per se, I think we'll be okay for a while. It is a golden generation. It is a generation that we have in sort of key positions, goalkeeping, up front, quite a bit of depth, and right, you know, the sort of challenge right now is probably the back line at the moment.
Yeah, Stephen, sorry, Sharman. I was just going to say, just talking about that depth of talent and what's coming up the pipeline. We were talking yesterday that kind of the recipe for success in sports is you need your big guns to be your big guns, you need your goalkeeper to come with timely saves, and you need a wild card. So when you look at that depth of talent or beyond what Jesse Marsh's preferred 11 is, who do you think is poised for a breakthrough, either at this Gold Cup or as we look ahead to next year's World Cup?
Well, I didn't see a lot of him, but I think there are a couple of players caught my eye. The Saliba stepped in, and I thought he did really well. Not only did he do well on the ball and showed composure, but his box to box play was impressive. So that's kind of one player I had. I'm going to take a look at him and see how he does on this tournament. I think the two new players up front in particular, Jambon and Promise David. Jambon, I've seen a bit of, and I you know, when you come on a national team, you want to do so much and show yourself. And I think it was a little bit of, you know, people were saying, they're not sure he's ready yet and all of that. Well, maybe not. But, you know, if he gradually comes in, plays the games, just listen, you really have nothing to prove yet. I think he would be a big prospect. But at the moment, I think probably Promise David is he's a handful. You know, he's a really he's a handful. A little more composure in the box, he could cause some trouble. You know, so yeah, those sort of players. And I'll tell you somebody I really liked, and again, I'll have to see more of him. Is I might pronounce it. Jimmy starts laughing already with me and names, but Forgerolles.
The Forgerolles.
That will go. That works.
Jimmy struggles with that one too, Stephen. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Get Jimmy to say it. Feel better.
I'll just call him Luke. You know. But
yeah.
He looked. For somebody to just step in who is not a regular player, who has not been playing regularly, I thought he stepped in, showed good positional sense, good composure. He's another interesting one to keep looking at.
This is such this is such an analytical take on the entire show, and I don't want to change gears too much, Sharms, but Trinidad and Tobago, U.S. men's national team, the shit show that is U.S. men's national team, Steve. What do you think of that? And then they bossed your other country, as we know. How are you feeling about that performance and the shit show that's U.S.?
Yeah, it was a big upset, wasn't it? The U.S. Listen, I don't think anybody who follows Trinidad and Tobago team has any illusion. The football and the entire football structure, everything in the country is a mess since COVID. I think the Pro League only runs for 22 games or something like that. It's and with such a big local base selection, I was not surprised. And then about the US, okay, they won that game, but that's like, to me, that's like, people saying that Trinidad and Tobago beat St. Kitts handily, and now the US have turned around and beat Trinidad and Tobago handily. I don't think they're a good team at all. No disrespect. I know they're missing 9 players or something like that, but for some reason that US program can't seem to play as a team. Right now they're going to bundle through on some individual ability, which is what Trinidad and Tobago are more than likely going to do as well. They're going to do it on the back of Levi Garcia and probably young Natty James and players like that. But the US team can't seem to bring itself to play as a team, and I could be completely wrong. This could be the turning point for them, but I doubt it.
Infighting, right? All this Pulisic and Pochettino noise. If you're a coach and you have
parents are getting involved, like
right? Okay, let me ask you,
athlete.
What would you say to
your
an athlete?
Parents are getting involved.
Yeah. What do you say to an athlete whose mum and dad are kind of joining the conversation? Do you say grow up?
Well, I mean, look, I'm enjoying that. It's a comedy. Honestly, I'm enjoying it. That should be a Netflix stand-up. Because I can't believe what I'm listening to, and I don't know, maybe it's a generational thing, but it's comical, really. It's really comical. Come on, you're a big professional athlete. Stand up for yourself. Say what you have to say. Fight your own battles, but. Come in. Parents getting involved. Give me a break.
Mr. and Mrs. Brennan never gave you a call when you were coaching Canada and little Jimmy? No,
they didn't. But I did have a parent talk to me once. It was, I was sitting at a bar and he came up to me and he goes, I thought, okay, here we go. Because I think I'd subbed him twice in 2 back-to-back games. And he goes, yeah, I couldn't believe you picked him the second time. I thought that was refreshing,
That wasn't Jimmy's dad, was it?
Eh?
That wasn't Jimmy's dad, was it?
No, my dad would say something.
I'm not
like
calling any names, but it was. I nearly fell off the bar stool.
Hardy, we got a big game tonight. You're the manager of the team. who are you starting up top with Jonathan David? And also, who's your midfield pairing?
I'd probably go with Estacio and Saliba in the midfield.
Usually speaking,
think,
right? But
yeah. But if you had Saliba,
what?
Sorry.
Sorry.
If you had Saliba, and because Estacio, yeah, you normally have him, but because he's with Porto right now, you've got a choice between Kone, Oso, and Schwanier, partner Saliba.
Yeah, I would go with Kone. I would go with Kone. I think they would have a little bit of a relationship. I would go with Kone. Up front, it's a little bit testing, but knowing this Honduras team and our wide play at the moment with Buchanan flying and you know what, I'm not a big fan of the David Larin pairing. Now I went to watch the training sessions here. Well, a training session here. And with Jonathan David roaming a little more as a old-fashioned sort of 10, if I may say that, I think that's a wise decision. Instead of saying, okay, when you drop in, I'm going to push forward or whatever. But I always like, if you have somebody like David playing, basically as your second sort of striker, 10, whatever you want to call it, you need somebody running behind, right? And when you play with Larin, you basically have two players that play very similar, like the ball to feet, back to goal. I would probably say, you know what, David, promise, get out there and batter them. When the crosses are coming in, batter them, right? And then you could, later on you could, bring on Larin or whatever. But that's what I would probably do right from the onset.
Jimmy brought up a point when we're watching Promise David play against Ukraine, that he has that Justin or John Fashanu build, that sort of profile that will batter players.
Yeah, he's a bit like Heskey, isn't he? A bull in a china shop type of player that you really, if you're a center back, you're looking around every time the ball goes wide, and he has a sort of a in the box sort of quality. And as I said, if his finishing was a little more composed, I think we'll get a lot out of him. But I would throw him to the Wolves tonight.
Do you think that Marsh's concerns maybe, Hardy, are the out of possession? Do you think that he feels like he's got the defensive acumen and the familiarity with the philosophy of play, the style he wants to employ when they're defending in order to slot in there?
It's not that hard, is it? Let's just press. Let's just press. It's not like it's intricate. It's basically a hard pressing, hard running game. We've become a very physical team, which we have to worry about with Concacaf refereeing. Even though the referee, stray off topic a little bit, but the referee last night in the Boca Juniors game,
oh my God,
which was, oh my God, I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that.
That's the one I
honestly.
Great.
So yeah, he was from Mexico, and I thought he did a tremendous job. He let them play. But anyway, our game has become physical, and if you look at the Ivory Coast game as an example, it was the first time I think for a long time we've come up against a team that could match us athletically and physically, and the game was just stop-start. The game never played, the game never played. So it's going to depend a lot on the referee. But I think with that sort of just hard running, hard pressing style, he should be all right.
Yeah, it'd be very Jesse Marsh to get that aggressive and throw him out there and see what happens, right? It's a long tournament, but I think a lot of fans are calling for that right now. Stephen, as always, great insight. Thank you so much for this, and enjoy the tournament, and hopefully we'll get you back on at some point during it, maybe ahead of another medal, another trophy for Canada.
Yeah, it would be nice. Once again, we get Honduras. I don't know how they do these draws. Let's just enjoy it.
No kidding. Can you actually enjoy a Honduras match? I'm not sure it's actually possible, but we'll give it a whirl anyway. Thanks so much, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Stephen.
Good to see you.
Bye-bye.
That is former Canadian men's head coach Stephen Hart. As always, great insight. And do you think we're going to see promise tonight, Jimmy? Do you think we're going to see that type of ballsy selection?
I don't know whether to start, but I think at some point I'd like to see him come on. Obviously, the game's going to dictate, what your subs are going to be, but I'd like to see him at some point come onto the pitch, especially against Honduras, who we know are very physical as well.
Well, it's a late one tonight for us East Coasters.
10:30 start?
Eastern Canadian people. 10:30.
Yeah.
But we will be covering it tomorrow. Early
Yeah.
doors and break it down for you. So make sure you check out Footy Prime tomorrow.
Can I leave? Can I say something before we leave?
No.
Because we have a podcast to talk. Hardy was talking about a bull in a china shop. I've been called China in a bull shop. Just so you guys know.
A bullshit shop.
That too.
Yeah.
Has there actually ever been a bull in a china shop, do you think, ever in the history of the world?
Probably.
Yes.
You think so?
Probably in Spain.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Running
running
the ball, off track,
Yeah.
and ends up in a china shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the pillow shop was right beside it. Damn it.
Mattress store on the other side.
God damn it, bully.
Shit.
You had to choose a china shop, didn't you? Anyway, that's Footy Prime for another day. But if you're enjoying this, we have another pod coming for you as well. So check it out. It's our Club World Cup mini pod. Watch all of the FIFA Club World Cup free on DAZN. Sign up now so you don't miss any of the action. So until then, thank you so much. Enjoy tonight's match. We'll chat with you tomorrow. Cheers for listening and watching. Bye-bye.